Welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast, conversations, revelations, and inspirations behind the books. It's time for our segment, Literary Commentary. Thank you for listening. Good evening, listeners. I'm Amy Shannon, and welcome to Literary Commentary.
And I'm Talia Haven.
Well, it is another great, we have an interesting month coming up for August. I'm thrilled to be able to say I am moved in and almost completely unpacked. Almost. You don't realize how much crap you have until you move.
Yeah.
Like, I packed everything up, and then when I started unpacking, I'm like, why did I save this?
To the dumpster.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's fun. Me and my son, we have our own place, and it's really nice. And my son and his wife, they're getting used to being out on their own for the first time in their lives. So, the first 3 days, my son, he would actually video chat with me, just to see what was up.
Yeah.
I'm like, you video chatted me, and he's like, yeah, I know, we're just getting used to this. I'm like, you just miss your mom. He won't admit that he misses his mom. And my other son and his husband are looking for a new place, and they are actually going to live in my apartment complex and in a different building. But yeah, I'm like, yep, he just wants to be close to his mom.
Yeah.
And I like that, and it's sweet.
It is
I
nice.
See my wonderful, her grandbaby. Just love him. He's his name is Hyper, and he's a cockapoo, and he just loves it when he sees grandma, so I get to see him more often, maybe be able to take him for walks, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah.
So getting started, let's see, for August releases, I have two, on my record right now. One is, Ron Kinster. His book is called Elevator, and he releases it on August 4th. And then I have Lisa Howell's The Weight of Cold Things, and her book is coming out on August 7th. And actually sometime at the end of September, she will actually also be a guest. So congratulations on the release of those authors and their new books that are coming out. I think it's always very exciting when you have a new book coming out, and me, I'm looking forward to diving back into my research once I have my research corner organized. So with August comes Women's Equality Day, and one of the things that there's an actual, they call it the National Women's History Alliance. It's a group, and you can actually go to their website to find out more information at nationalwomen'shistoryalliance.org, and I'll have that link in the description of this episode. One interesting thing that comes out was, the suffrage, when they called it, it was given women the right to vote. And I should say all women, because I know in the past, before this even became, fighting for women's rights and things like that, there were small towns across the country that would allow women involved in their form of government, or relied on them for their their knowledge, and those women you never hear about. They're the ones that, they would, be on maybe a city council, part of a community group, and they had a say, especially if they were a landowner. Um, women's a woman could not own land for the longest time unless she inherited from her family, her parents. Um, and then if she got married, her land would automatically become her husband's and no longer hers. Unless he passed away, then it would go back to her. And, a woman as a widow, they called her the widow, whatever her last name is. Like, oh yeah, you just want to be reminded that, you don't have a husband anymore.
Right.
Some of us might say, yay, but that's not.
That's not the way it was back then.
No. And then there were women that, they used a terrible word. They called them spinsters because they, I think, sure, there may have been women that, weren't attractive to men or, or attracted to men. And, you don't talk about those kind of things. And there are, some women were single by choice.
Mm-hmm.
They just wanted to live their lives. They wanted to work. They wanted to, do whatever, travel, uh, help take care of others. Women could be nurses. They could even be doctors, but they had to go to a special school that was uh, for women only, in a medical school, which those were also rare as well. Education was not always comparable to male counterparts. And, when you look back at things, and there were men that didn't agree that, women should be, shunned or, not paid attention to, that they should have more rights than they did. And then there were those that didn't agree with that. So.
Yeah, when I got on Amazon and started looking at women's awareness, the topics is really broad. I mean, they cover anything from cancer to relationships. So then I started getting into more of what you were talking about, the rights. And Seneca Falls, it's in your neighborhood, Upper New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1848 was the first convention of Seneca Falls. Elizabeth Cody Stanton and Lucretia Mott were the founders. Stanton was a young mother, and Mott was a Quaker. And they put together the first Seneca Falls Convention right up in your area.
That is really interesting. I'll have to look more into that because
Yep.
I love finding out more. I always, when I learn something and then I question stuff, and I love, it's like I always have a question about something, and
Right.
and when you think about it too, say that even when women were authors, way back when,
Mm-hmm.
they were expected to write things like,
Cookbooks.
Yep. Or, how to properly sew, blah, blah, blah. Or how to take care of your family.
Crocheting for toddlers.
Yeah, exactly. Making rag dolls, out of old rags and doing things like that. My mother loved to quilt. She used to use our rags, our old clothes, and then she'd make blankets for us, and then she learned how to crochet. But she did what she loved. She not only had 5 children, but she during a span of, let's say, 30 years, she was also a child caregiver. She was always watching someone else's child, and she would write a story that just kind of never ended, just so she could read to us. And she could do a lot of things. So I found that was, you know, my mom was gone too soon, but she just never knew how big of an impact that she had on people's lives. And sometimes, unfortunately, you don't realize that you have an impact on someone's life if you, you help people. And I mean, that's what I like to do. It's just part of my nature to want to help others, even when I'm not doing that great myself. But it makes me feel better.
Mhm.
And to me, when someone says thank you or thank you for all that you do, I get that a lot. And just that little, thank you, it means more to me than anything. It's someone just takes the time to thank somebody. I mean, I do, and sometimes I forget if I thank somebody or not, so I'll thank them again. But I always, it's just one of those, it's like my son and I were talking about something the other day, and he's like, it's just the polite thing to do. That's how I was raised, Mom. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I think I was there, but, it was, pretty, it's just something about helping people and, and my son William, he's, autistic, but he's very high functioning, and he recognizes that, but he doesn't use it as an excuse to not to do things. He always wants to do things. My house is always going to be spotless as long as he's around because he loves to clean. I mean, this is a kid who says, Mom, he sends me links from Amazon on items that he feels will he use better because they clean better. You have no idea how many mops I've bought until he found the perfect one. But it's leaving an impact on your kids, and and they leave an impact on their kids, and if they don't have any, because all of my grandbabies have fur, and I have a new grandbaby, a little kitty. His name is Vladimir, so I'm going to shout out to him. He is I think they call a Russian blue hair or something like that. And he's beautiful. A little skittish around grandma right now, but he's beautiful. And I just love it, They don't have to. Our pets are, well, they're not really, I don't see them as pets. It's like they're humans, and, they're part of the family. So I talked to my goldfish. And I talked to my beautiful turtle named Stanley, and she just looks at me and listens very intently.
Well, I rolled out of bed the other morning with a cup of coffee, went out and sat on my deck, and ended up with a meow and the most friendliest cat I've ever seen in my life. Somebody's pet dropped it off at my house. So I now have a male who's not coming in the house because he's got his stuff and his claws. And I told him, I said, well, you're fortunate. I have a can of tuna. So now his name is Fortunate.
Oh.
So I need to find a home for Fortunate because I live in the country and I poison the daylights out of this place. So Fortunate needs a house. So I got to figure out what to do with Fortunate. But yeah, I hate to
Somebody
see him
just
get a hold of
dropped
a
him
sick
off.
mouse. Yeah, they just drop. I live in the country. People do that. They just drop them off, and because they can't take them wherever it is they're going. So I went out for coffee, and he jumped up and rolled over on his back and wanted a belly rub and loved me up.
Oh.
Dang it. Here, have a can of tuna, you fortunate little thing. His name's Fortunate.
Oh, I love
He's been
it.
here ever since.
Oh, that's just wonderful.
He's getting hair all over my cushions on my deck.
Oh, of course he is. Yeah, I actually, my one cat, well, I have two, and they both were abused and neglected as kittens. Um, and one has, he has a weepy eye, and he can only see out of part of it. But he hates that I have to clean it for him. But then I give him kisses, and he knows that he knows he's being loved. And it just, it ticks me off that he was, abused. And my other cat, well, that was Flash, and my other cat's name is Tange, and his tail has a bend in it because it looks like someone or somehow his tail got broken and then it healed improperly. And he is actually my son is his human. William is his human. It's the only person that he'll sit on his lap, and he doesn't care what he's doing. He'll just sprawl out across his lap. And so I made Flash a little bed because he likes to come in my room. I just put blankets and pillows in a box, and then I covered it and put his favorite pillow on top, and he loves it. And they're fun. And people are probably listening and saying, "What does this have to do with anything?" Well,
It doesn't.
it doesn't. It's just, family, and family comes in all shapes and sizes. And there was something I was thinking of the other day, and it was like, you know, every single person in this world is different. Even if you are identical twins, you share DNA, you may look alike, every single person is different. So why do we judge people based off their differences?
Yeah.
And, I don't have the answer to that. I know that I don't. I learned a long time ago not to judge people on first impressions. And because sometimes that person could just be having a bad day. And, I had met this woman, and when I first met her, she rubbed me the wrong way. She just seemed grumpy and abrasive, and a couple days later, we just ended up chatting, and we became friends. And, and at that moment, I was like, she was just having a bad day. And I was in my early 20s, but it was, my mother always taught me to only judge people based on the way that they treat you. And always treat people as you want to be treated, and just be kind and non-judgmental. And sometimes, mentally in our mind, we might be like judging people and, by the way they act or things like that. But, uh, we just never know what's going on inside someone else's head. So.
Yeah, when I was researching the Seneca Falls thing,
Yeah.
it got into 1869 when they did the National Women's Suffrage Association.
Right.
How is it that Susan B. Anthony gets all the credit for this when Stanton and Mott actually really kind of got the ball rolling? I mean, when you look it up, those are the two people that come up, is the
Yeah.
mother of the children and the Quaker. Well, how is it that Susan B. Anthony ended up with all the credit? on
I,
women's suffrages?
yeah, I don't even know.
I don't even know. I
I
mean, you've
think,
always just kind of took it for face value,
yeah, and
but
we've learned from history and that uh, what we thought was real was not. It was someone's opinion or a rumor or somebody whose voice might have been a little bit louder than other people's. And
yeah, it's possible. It's
yeah,
possible.
yeah, I mean, in doing my research, whatever I'm working on, I always, I check various, credible sources. I still go to the library and look things up, you know, and, look at their books. And, I've actually made some, um, local contacts. We have a New York, I live in upstate New York, but we have a New York State, public library. And I've never been to the library, and I really don't have a way to go there, but I was looking for a specific book, and they carried it, and they were nice enough to scan it for me and then email it to me because
Hmm.
I
Okay.
couldn't get there. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And they were so nice about it because usually they charge people to do that. And I had gotten an invoice like a month later, and I said, I don't mind that I got this invoice. I said, but I wasn't told. I just, I wanted, they scanned me this book because I had one question that I wanted to be answered, and I thought it was in the book. It was in the book.
Mhm.
So, they're like, oh, that invoice was a mistake. It shouldn't have been, you shouldn't have had to do that. So,
Oh, that was nice of them.
yeah, I was like, oh, well, thank you. I mean, it was only $18, but, I'm like, when, if you're going to pay for something, you should know what the fee is up front before you actually get what you want. Cause I'm like, I read the whole book, but, in the second chapter, it had the answer that I was looking for. And then I was able to, get that particular information and my question answered. So yeah, there's a lot of things that I found errors on official landmark signs because they were, rumors. And uh, I've also found um, hidden cemeteries that nobody knew where they were and nobody asked the question, and I found them, even if they are buried. Um, so I am in this world where I've always loved history, and now that I get to do that, and I'm considered credible
Yep.
historian, that actually makes me feel good. Um, my article that I wrote on for a local newspaper. They were doing a magazine special for 1776 to 2026 for the 250 years of the Declaration of Independence. And my cousin Bill, who's a historian for a different county, he asked me what, he's like, is there any significance, uh, historically about this? And I'm like, oh yeah. He's like, oh, well, you write me something up. I'm like, okay. And so I did, and I sent it to him, and, he loved it, and, it was actually published, and it was funny because he called me last week and asked me if I got the paper copy, and my son had picked up because normally I just read it digitally on my computer, the newspaper, and I had downloaded that entire edition, but my son got me the paper copy, which is pretty cool. And I said, yeah, I said, don't worry about it, because he was going to give me one if I didn't have it. And, he's like, did you just read your article, or, did you read everybody's? I said, I went all the way through. I read everybody's articles. And he said, you know what? And I said, what's that? He said, you are, uh, you were one of the best writers for this article, for this magazine. I said, I was like, really? And he said, yeah. He said, you would not believe how many people, like, these were historians writing articles, but how much they write terribly. So they had to be edited so much that it had actually delayed the publication. He's like, yours didn't need anything. I'm like, well, that's good.
I relate with every bad author out there. I cannot edit myself out of a box. I can't. I can,
Well, yeah.
somehow can tell a story, but yeah, it's
Oh, I
terribly
get it.
bad.
Yeah,
It's like a toddler. It's terrible.
I know. I read your work.
I know.
I like it.
He
Damn
just
formatting.
goes, oh God, why me?
But I love reading how it, everything progresses and changes, and it's nice to have somebody that you can rely on to do that for you without saying, really? But yeah, I mean,
What is it with you and commas everywhere?
I know. Oh,
So this is my self-confession, people. I cannot edit at all. Not skilled in that whatsoever. My poor English teacher when I was in school.
Oh goodness. The only thing I hated about English was I never got the point of sentence diagrams. I couldn't do them. I figured it out. My teacher was not very clear on it, and I'm like, why would you even have to diagram a sentence? You just write it.
Yeah.
Why do you
Throw
need
in some commas and call it good.
I know sometimes I put commas where they're not supposed to be, but it actually does annoy me when if I'm reading a actual like a published book, when people don't realize, and I know it's really stupid, but when in dialogue, when you are saying someone's name, you always have a comma, and then whatever they say, the rest of it. And even some of the best writers, they just don't do it. But see, what happens is it blends into without the comma, you might not quite understand that they are talking directly to that person. It could be just, they're telling somebody else what someone else did. So yes, I am a grammar police person. But I've made my share of grammatical errors. What happens is and most of them is because when I type sometimes I have tremors and I scroll up and I don't always see it, and I'll post something and somebody will say, I'm only telling you this because we're friends. And I'm like, oh crap. So I actually go back into the post and I update it. I'm like, damn fingers. The worst part is when you're typing, but your fingers are off by one key.
Oh.
So when you're typing and it's like, what is that? It's code. Somebody has to guess what you're trying to write.
Spell check says, I think it's this, but it might be that. I don't know.
I don't know what PWXKY means. So, do we have any submission calls for this one?
Actually, I've got two things that I'd like to talk about today. The first one is both of these people have been in business for 15 years. The publisher, which is in the UK, which we'll be talking about second. The first one if you've ever Googled up my books, I have an extraordinary, talented cover artist. And
Oh,
she is fully employed. It's what she does for a living. It's not a side gig. For the last 15 years, she told me she's extremely blessed. I sent the link to you,
yeah.
and her name is Tatiana Vela.
She's
And she
amazing.
does great work. And I wanted to give a shout out to her. I asked her if she wanted to do an interview, and she said she's not the interview type. So I couldn't get her to actually talk about her craft.
Hmm.
But yeah, she does great cover work. 15 years, it is her job. I mean, this is not a side gig where she goes to work and she comes home at night and throws something together. She does this
Oh,
full
it's,
time.
yeah, it's amazing because I know I've done a few of your back covers and, uh,
Yep.
to get, take the essence of what she, I've already read the story, so I know what the story's about, but taking her interpretation of your story and then
Mhm.
trying to match it, on the back somehow. And, it's just her work is amazing. Uh,
Yeah. And the crazy thing is she just asked me a couple questions. I give a couple answers and boom, she nailed it. You
yeah.
know, it's crazy. But the second one I wanted to talk about is Inspired Quill. They are a UK publisher that has been in business for 15 years. I want to stress that their anthology submissions are currently closed. They just closed when I started chatting with this woman
Hmm.
over in the UK, but I told her that I would stress this is starting in November of 2026. They are opening up their submissions.
Oh, great.
So if you go to their website and check out their submissions, they do everything from fantasy to young adult, nonfiction, if I'm not mistaken, sci-fi, steampunk. Um, Go check them out. See if you've got anything that falls in their guidelines, and they're opening up in November. Not
Yeah.
sure on the date, just
Does
know
it,
it's going to be in November.
does it say, do
And
you
they
know
are in
if that's
the
on their
UK.
website?
Yep,
The,
it's on their website.
okay.
They got submissions. So
Cool.
I'd reached out to them because of their anthologies, and about the time I got chatting with her, their anthologies closed, and she says, "Well, we'll be opening up." I go, I can do that. It's only a couple months away.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, give people a chance to brush up on what they got and take a
Yeah.
look at their guidelines.
Yeah. That's always a good thing. You should
Yep.
always plan ahead. I mean, when you're an author and you're looking to do submissions, you know, bef- before you send anybody something, you should have something to send them.
Yep.
Uh, or, if they don't have submissions, but like an anthology, maybe they're doing something in the future, and they don't, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't tell you what that theme might be, but, that also gives you an idea on, what to expect and things like that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's always a good thing. I mean, anytime you're going to submit, make sure you actually read their submission guidelines. Because if
Oh
you don't
yeah.
follow them, or you submit like something that they don't accept, or, even if like your format is incorrect, that means you don't read and pay attention, so they're just gonna go, "Psh, you're done." So, those are always very important to, look into. And also, I just want to stress again to, listeners out there, they're still going on with the email scams. I've been receiving email scams from people claiming to work for legitimate businesses, uh, publishers, publicists, agents, things like that. And, and I know that, and that's not how they try to pull you in, but if you get something from, say, let me say ABC publisher saying they're going to, they look at your work, blah blah blah. A publisher is not going to go out and read your book.
No.
And yeah, I mean, and that's not how it's going to happen. So if you aren't sure, you can email me and ask, or you could go to the real website of the real company and see what's going on. But
Mm-hmm.
they don't do that. They don't go out and recruit authors uh, unless somebody you know something is brought to their attention. And I've had this happen a few times that I've reviewed a book and I posted my reviews, and then someone who subscribes or follows me on Facebook, my biggest audience I get is the one on my Facebook page, and I will have I get a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'm going to read this book," and then, because I recommended it. But I've had a few publishers that would contact me and say, "Boy, I'm really interested in so and so," and that's because they subscribed and they are now familiar with this person, and so what I do is I would contact the person, the author directly, let them know and give them the person's information, and then it's up to them if they want to call, but to contact them. But that's it's always good to double check. But yeah, I mean, I have publishers going out looking for people. I mean, I go out and I look for authors who want to come on the show, or I contact publishers and remind them, tell your authors about being on this show, or send me your books. And I just posted the other day that there's a lot of people that I haven't heard from in a long time, and if they've published anything, I'd love to have them back. So um, I set up a new schedule for myself, and I find that it is working very well. Uh, I have set up days of the week based off of different bookshelves that I have, and what days certain titles on these bookshelves will be posted. So it keeps me on task, and now that I'm pretty much back to my normal schedule, I have been reading, but so I want to just point all of that stuff out. So thank you, audience, for listening, and feel free to comment on this show or any show. Join me again next week for great conversations, and if you want to check out my work, just Google me. I'm Amy Shannon. Be safe, be well, and always be kind.
Thank you for listening to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. If you wish to be a guest on the show, you can go to amysbookshelfreviews.com/podcast and schedule your pre-recording. Please follow this podcast on Spotify, even if you listen to it on other streaming sites. Also, this podcast is on every first Monday and last Monday of the month at 7 p.m. and every Sunday at 6 and 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Amy Shannon. Be safe, be well, and always be kind.